Because when I walked through that door carrying a massive arc welder that weighed almost as much as me, she didn't say a word for a full 10 seconds. And in those 10 seconds, I knew I had pulled off the craziest lie of my life. So here's the deal. My girlfriend Sarah thinks I'm in Manhattan for a quick 3-day welding gig. Some factory needed a pipe repaired, nothing special. She kissed me goodbye, told me to be careful, and said she'd miss me. I nodded, smiled, and let her believe that. But the whole time, my truck was parked around the corner with a 200-pound arc welder in the back. The kind of machine that looks like it belongs in a shipyard, not someone's living room. Now you're probably wondering why I'd lie about something so dumb. And why on earth would I bring that monster of a machine to New York? Let me back up a little. I've been welding for about 8 years. Started in my uncle's garage, burning holes through metal until I finally figured out how to make things stick. Over time I got good, real good. I can weld steel, aluminum, even cast iron if I take my time, but Sarah never really liked my job. She says I come home smelling like smoke and metal dust. She worries about the burns, the sparks, the way I sometimes squint for hours after a long day under the hood. So when I told her about this New York job, she got quiet. Not angry, just that tight-lipped, worried kind of quiet. She asked if it was dangerous. I said no. She asked if I really had to go. I said yes. And then she asked why I needed to take the biggest welder I owned. That's when I should have told her the truth, but I didn't. I said the factory had thick metal, which was a lie, a complete, utter lie. The truth is, there was no factory job. There never was. I made the whole thing up. Why? Because Sarah had been talking for months about this old metal gate at her mother's house. The one that had been rusting for years, barely hanging on its hinges. Her mom couldn't afford to replace it, and Sarah felt awful every time she visited and saw it sagging like a tired old man. She mentioned it at dinner once, said she wished someone could just weld it back together. But welders in New York charge a fortune, and she didn't want to ask me because she knew I was busy with my own work. That's when the idea hit me. What if I surprised her? What if I drove all the way from Ohio to New York, pretended it was for a job, and then just showed up at her mom's house with the welder and fixed that gate myself? It sounded simple in my head, but the closer I got to the city, the more I realized how insane this plan actually was. First problem, I had never welded a gate like that before. It was old, wrought iron, probably 100 years old. One wrong move and I could crack the whole thing. Second problem, her mom's house is in a tight neighborhood in Queens. No driveway, no garage, just a tiny front yard and a lot of nosy neighbors. Third and biggest problem, Sarah was staying at her mom's that week, which meant I couldn't exactly sneak in and do the job without her seeing me, so I had to commit to the lie. I texted her when I got into the city, said the hotel was cheap and the factory was loud. She sent back a heart emoji and told me to wear my safety glasses. I felt like a criminal, but I also felt something else, excited, because this wasn't just a welding job anymore. This was a chance to prove that all those years of burning metal actually meant something. Not just for a paycheck, but for someone I loved. The morning of the surprise, I woke up at 5 a.m., loaded the arc welder onto a handcart. I'm not a big guy, 5'9", maybe 160 pounds, and this machine was a beast. It had a thick orange cable, a heavy metal casing, and when I rolled it down the sidewalk, it sounded like I was dragging a small car behind me. People stared. A guy walking his dog asked if I was building a tank. I just laughed and kept moving. By the time I got to her mom's street, my arms were burning. Not the good kind of burn you get from welding. The bad kind you get from being stubborn and stupid. I stopped at the corner, took a deep breath, and texted Sarah. I said I finished work early and wanted to say hi. She texted back, "Wait, you're in Queens right now?" I said yes. She said, "Come over, mom's making soup." That's when I knew there was no turning back. I walked up to the front door, the arc welder rattling behind me. I didn't knock. I just opened the door. It was unlocked like always and stepped inside. Sarah was in the kitchen, stirring a pot. Her mom was at the table reading a magazine. And there I was, standing in the doorway with a machine that could melt steel at 2,000 degrees. Sarah turned around, her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. No sound came out. Her mom looked up, saw the welder, and just said, "Jesus, Joseph, did you bring that on the subway?" But Sarah still wasn't talking. She just stared at the welder, then at me, then back at the welder. Finally, she whispered, "I thought you were working at a factory." I said, "I lied." Silence. Then I said, "There is no factory. I came here to fix your mom's gate, the one you've been sad about for 6 months." She blinked. Her eyes got wet. Not crying exactly, but close. She looked at her mom, then back at me. And then she did something I didn't expect. She laughed. Not a small laugh. A big, loud, can't breathe kind of laugh. Her mom started laughing too. and I just stood there holding onto the welder like an idiot, smiling so hard my face hurt. But here's where the real challenge started. Because promising to fix a gate is one thing, actually fixing a 100-year-old wrought iron gate with an arc welder in a residential neighborhood, that's a whole different story. I wheeled the machine into the backyard. The gate was worse than I expected. Rust had eaten through the bottom hinge. The latch was bent sideways, and the whole thing was leaning so far to the left that it practically touched the ground. Sarah stood behind me, arms crossed, still looking at me like I was insane. Her mom brought out lemonade and sat on the porch to watch. First, I had to clean the rust. That took 2 hours. I used a wire brush, then a grinder, then more wire brush. Sparks flew everywhere. A neighbor yelled from his window asking if I was okay. I yelled back that I was just happy. He closed the window. Next, I had to realign the hinge. The old screws were stripped, so I had to drill new holes into the brick wall. Have you ever drilled into brick with a hand? Drill while balancing a heavy gate with your other hand? It's not fun. I dropped the gate once. It landed on my foot. I didn't scream, but I wanted to. Finally, the welding part. I put on my helmet, flipped down the visor, and struck an arc. That blue light lit up the whole backyard. The crackle and hiss of the welder filled the air. Sarah later told me it sounded like a dragon having a tantrum. I welded new metal plates over the rusted spots, reinforced the latch, and added a small decorative curl at the top because I thought it looked cool. 3 hours later, the gate was done. Not just fixed. Better than new. I painted it with rust-proof black paint, oiled the hinges, and stepped back. Sarah walked up to it, touched the metal curl I added, and just stood there. Her mom came down from the porch, opened and closed the gate 3 times, and said, "Well, I'll be damned." Then Sarah turned to me. She didn't say thank you. She didn't say I love you. She just grabbed the front of my shirt, pulled me close, and said, "You drove 8 hours with a welder in your truck, lied to my face, and almost broke your foot just to fix my mom's gate?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Don't ever lie to me again." Then she kissed me, and I could smell the lemonade and the soup and the metal dust on my own shirt. And honestly, it was the best smell in the world. So what's the point of this whole story? It's not about welding. It's about the fact that sometimes the best surprises come from the dumbest lies. And if you care about someone, you don't need a big romantic gesture. You just need to pay attention. Sarah mentioned that gate once, just once, and I held on to it because I knew it mattered to her. That's it. That's the whole secret. Also, arc welders are heavy. Don't drag one through Queens unless you really love someone. Now, if you want to see what that gate actually looked like after I finished it, including that curly detail I was talking about, click the video on your screen right now. I filmed the whole thing. And yeah, you'll see me drop the gate on my foot too. It's as painful as it sounds. Go ahead and watch that next.